My friend, listen closely, for this very moment is holy. Right now, as you sit and breathe, something unseen is working on your behalf. Though your senses may whisper of delay, though appearances may tell you nothing is happening, a greater order is at work. God is moving everything in your favor. There is no chaos in the divine. Every seeming obstacle, every closed door, every disappointment was not rejection. It was redirection. The path was being rearranged so that the fullness of your promise could meet you in divine timing. You see, miracles do not begin in the world around you. They begin in the world within you. The instant you believe that it is already done, heaven responds. The universe begins to conspire with your conviction. Invisible forces start shifting. People, opportunities, and timing begin to align with what your inner faith has declared. So do not say, "One day my miracle will come." Say, "Now." For the moment you awaken to the reality that God moves now, you release the power that changes everything. Right now, your life is being rearranged to bless you. Right now, unseen hands are setting the stage for your answered prayer. Right now, the Spirit is whispering to your circumstances, commanding them to yield to favor. Your only task is to believe, not a desperate belief that strives or pleads, but a serene knowing, the calm assurance that what you have imagined with faith already exists. You do not beg for what is already yours. You receive it by entering into the feeling of fulfillment. Close your eyes and see yourself in possession of the miracle. Feel the gratitude that flows when your desire has already come to pass. Let your inner world become so real that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. And then, that instant, the outer world becomes your shell. That is how you receive the miracle, not by reaching, but by resting in divine certainty. For faith is not waiting for something to happen. Faith is knowing that it has already happened in the unseen. So walk today with quiet confidence. Let no appearance trouble you. For the unseen hand of God is moving through every detail of your story, aligning every thread and weaving together a masterpiece called favor. And when the miracle unfolds, as it surely will, you will look back and say, "It was happening all along. Even in silence, God was moving everything in my favor." Right now, my friend, it is done. Receive it, walk in it, live as though the promise is fulfilled, because it is. Even when life appears silent, still, or motionless, there is a profound and invisible movement taking place beneath the surface of your reality. What you call nothing happening is often the most sacred moment of divine orchestration. The unseen intelligence that governs the stars, that guides the seasons, that breathes life into all creation, is the same intelligence quietly rearranging the details of your life. It works in silence, without announcement and without spectacle, yet it is never inactive. There are times when you may look at your life and feel that progress has stopped, that prayers have gone unanswered, or that destiny has somehow paused. But in truth, these are the very moments when God's movement is most active. The divine does not always move with noise and visibility. Just as the roots of a tree grow deep in the darkness of the soil, before a single leaf appears above the ground, your life too is being prepared in hidden realms. The silence is not stagnation, it is strategy. The delay is not denial, it is divine design. Every circumstance you face, every encounter, every closed door or unexpected detour is being used to set the stage for the fulfillment of your purpose. You may not see how it fits, but there is an order, an invisible pattern that only reveals itself when the time is right. The universe, under divine direction, moves like a grand symphony. Each note, though it may sound isolated in the moment, finds perfect harmony in the larger composition of your life. When you trust that unseen movement, you begin to rest. You no longer force outcomes or chase what is already ordained to be yours. You learn to stand still, knowing that the power that created you is not idle. God's hand moves through time and space, aligning opportunities, shifting people, and opening paths you could not see with natural eyes. You may think you've been forgotten, but heaven has not been silent. It has been working. Faith is the art of perceiving that invisible movement. It is the quiet confidence that beneath every delay, something greater is forming. When your heart aligns with that understanding, fear loses its voice. You stop reacting to appearances and start responding to truth. And the truth is this: even in what seems like stillness, divine intelligence is in motion, guiding all things toward your highest good. So do not measure progress by what you see. Do not define movement by visible signs. The invisible movement of God is constant, precise, and powerful. One day, when the time is full, what was hidden will emerge, and you will realize that nothing was ever still. Everything was being rearranged for your good. The same silence that once felt empty will be recognized as sacred preparation. Trust that right now, in unseen realms, God is moving, and He is moving everything in your favor. There is a divine law that governs all creation. The outer world is but a reflection of the inner world. The moment your inner state aligns with faith, the world around you begins to rearrange itself to mirror that vibration. Nothing in your external life changes permanently until something within you does. You may try to alter your environment, relationships, or circumstances, but true transformation begins the instant your consciousness moves into harmony with what you believe is possible. Faith is not mere hope or wishful thinking. Faith is the deep, unwavering knowing that what you have desired already exists in the unseen. When your heart and mind agree with that truth, you release a spiritual current that touches everything connected to you. Events, people, and opportunities start to align, not through force, but through divine synchronization. What was once delayed begins to accelerate, what seemed impossible begins to open, and what appeared lost finds its way back to you. But this alignment cannot happen while your inner world is filled with contradiction. You cannot hold faith in one moment and fear in the next and expect your reality to remain stable. The outer world is a faithful servant. It echoes the dominant vibration of your inner state. When your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, frustration, or lack, life mirrors those thoughts. Yet when you cultivate peace, gratitude, and certainty, everything begins to move toward harmony. Inner alignment is the place where thought, emotion, and belief move in one direction. It is when your heart no longer argues with your mind and your imagination no longer opposes your faith. You no longer question whether you deserve the miracle. You simply know that it is already yours. This inner conviction produces a magnetic energy that attracts every resource necessary for fulfillment. Without struggle, without resistance, your world begins to yield to the consciousness you have chosen to embody. Think of it as tuning a frequency. A radio must be aligned to the correct station before the signal becomes clear. The message was always there, but until alignment happened, there was only static. In the same way, divine favor, abundance, and healing have always been present, but until your inner frequency matches their vibration, they cannot be fully received. The universe does not respond to words. It responds to the feeling behind them, the state of being that declares it is done. When you enter that state of faith, everything changes. The world that once resisted you begins to assist you. Delays dissolve. The right people appear. The timing becomes perfect. You stop striving and start flowing, for you are now moving in rhythm with divine intelligence. So look within before you try to change what is outside. Align your thoughts with peace, your emotions with gratitude, and your belief with certainty. For when the inner world stands firm in faith, the outer world has no choice but to shift in your favor. The miracle you seek is not waiting somewhere in the future. It is already present, hidden within this very moment. The human mind is often trapped between memories of the past and dreams of the future, yet both are illusions when compared to the living power of now. The present moment is not just a point in time. It is the doorway through which divine creation flows. When you awaken fully to it, you discover that all you have ever desired already exists here, in the eternal now. Most people postpone their blessings because they expect the miracle to arrive someday. They say, when things get better, I'll be happy. When I receive it, I'll believe. But such thinking places fulfillment in the distance, always beyond reach. The truth is that God's power operates only in the present. The Spirit does not act in the memory of yesterday or the dream of tomorrow. It acts in the living awareness of this moment. The present is sacred because it is where your consciousness meets divine intelligence. The moment you stop racing toward the future and begin to rest in awareness, you open the channel through which miracles manifest. You stop waiting and start receiving. You no longer chase outcomes, you become the vessel through which the outcome expresses itself. In that stillness, in that quiet knowing, the unseen begins to take visible form. Every miracle you've ever heard of was born in the now. Healing, revelation, restoration, all occur when someone becomes fully conscious of the divine presence that exists in this very breath. The moment you stop saying it will happen and begin to feel that it is happening now, something shifts within you, your vibration rises, your perception clears. You begin to sense that you are not separated from your miracle, you are standing in the midst of it. The future is only a projection of the now. Whatever quality of consciousness you nurture in this moment will shape what appears later. If you live with fear, your future mirrors fear. If you live with gratitude, your future multiplies abundance. This is why awakening to the present moment is the highest spiritual act. It is the place where faith becomes creation. To live in the now is not to ignore the future, but to realize that the seed of every future lies here, in this instant of awareness. When you breathe consciously, when you give thanks for what already is, when you recognize the divine presence within and around you, you unlock the flow of favor. So stop postponing your miracle. The answer is not coming, it is. The blessing is not on the way, it is already here, waiting for your awareness to meet it. The door has never been closed. You have only been standing outside of the moment. Step through it now. Embrace the stillness. Feel the divine energy moving in you, as you, through you. This is the power of now, the eternal moment where miracles are born. The eyes can deceive you, for they only report what already exists, not what is being created. The evidence of the senses is fleeting, constantly shifting like waves upon the sea. What you see around you today is nothing more than the residue of yesterday's beliefs. Every condition, every situation, every appearance in your life is a reflection of a former state of mind. That means the visible is always temporary, but the invisible, the realm of belief, is what shapes the permanent. To see beyond the evidence is to rise above appearances and behold reality from a higher vision. When you look only with physical eyes, you see limitation. But when you perceive with spiritual understanding, you see the unfolding of divine order. The world tells you to believe what you see, yet the truth is that you see what you believe. Faith reverses the order. It calls things that are not yet visible as though they already were. It refuses to bow before circumstances and instead declares, "This is only the surface. Something greater is happening beneath it." The visible world may whisper of lack, but your belief in abundance rewrites that story. The evidence may point to failure, but your inner conviction can summon victory from the unseen. You may see closed doors, but faith perceives divine redirection. Every person who has ever lived a life of power learned to trust the invisible over the visible, to stand firm in belief when the senses screamed otherwise. Seeing beyond the evidence is not denial, it is discernment. You are not pretending that your challenges don't exist, you are simply refusing to give them the final word. You are acknowledging a higher reality, one that is forming even as the old dissolves. The moment you choose to believe beyond appearances, you begin to shift from reaction to creation. Instead of being a prisoner of circumstance, you become a co-creator with the divine. The greatest test of faith is often in the waiting, those times when everything around you seems contrary to what you believe. Yet that is the sacred moment when your spiritual sight is strengthened. You learn to hold the vision steady, to look not at what is, but at what shall be. You learn to walk by faith, not by sight. And as you persist in that inner certainty, the temporary dissolves and the permanent emerges. Every miracle begins this way, with someone daring to believe something higher than the evidence. To believe that light can emerge from darkness, that healing can spring forth from brokenness, that destiny can unfold even in delay. The outer world eventually bows to the inner conviction. So look again at your life, not with the eyes of fear, but with the eyes of faith. What you see today is passing, but what you hold in belief is eternal. The invisible reality you carry within will soon become the evidence everyone else can see. The divine flow of life was never meant to be forced. Miracles are not born from strain, effort, or anxious striving. They unfold naturally through surrender and awareness. Humanity has been conditioned to believe that blessings are earned through struggle, that favor must be fought for, and that only through relentless effort can one touch the divine. Yet the truth is far simpler and more profound. Miracles are received, not achieved. Miracles are received, not achieved. They do not come because you have done enough, but because you have finally allowed enough. Striving belongs to the realm of separation, the belief that you are distant from what you desire. It is the mind's attempt to reach God through effort, unaware that the divine presence has never left you. When you strive, you affirm that what you seek is outside of you. When you surrender, you realize it has been within you all along. Surrender is not weakness, it is spiritual intelligence. It is the moment when you stop wrestling with life and begin to flow with it. Awareness is the key that opens the door to this flow. When you become aware of your unity with the divine, you stop pleading and start receiving. You no longer chase after blessings as though they are far away. You recognize that all that is good, pure, and beautiful is already moving toward you because it is drawn to its reflection within you. Your awareness becomes the magnet of miracles. Receiving requires stillness, a quiet trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even if your senses cannot yet see it. When you rest in that inner knowing, the struggle dissolves. You stop trying to force outcomes and instead you create the inner space for grace to enter. Striving tightens, receiving opens, striving shouts, receiving listens, striving demands, receiving allows. The greatest miracles often come when the soul releases control. When you stop insisting that life must go your way and simply allow divine wisdom to move through you, life begins to respond with harmony. Things that once felt blocked begin to flow. Ideas arise effortlessly and solutions appear at the perfect time. It is not that God suddenly decides to act, it is that your surrender has removed the resistance that once kept divine action from expressing itself freely. To receive is to trust that you are already worthy. It is to understand that favor does not depend on your performance, but on your position. The inner posture of faith and openness. You do not have to beg for what is already yours in spirit. You simply become aware of it, align with it, and let it manifest in its own divine order. So release the struggle. Let go of the idea that you must fight your way into grace. The river of divine supply is always flowing. You need only stop thrashing and let it carry you. Rest, trust, and become aware, for miracles are not achieved through effort, but received through surrender and awakening. Life is you let go of the idea that you must fight your way. To wait for a miracle is to live in separation from it. But to become the miracle is to live in unity with its essence until it appears. Every creation begins not in the world of action, but in the world of consciousness. You do not draw miracles to you by pleading or wishing. You manifest them by entering into the feeling of already having received them. The miracle is not something that happens to you, it is something that happens through you. When your inner state matches the reality you desire. Becoming one with the miracle means embodying its vibration before it takes visible form. If you desire healing, you begin to feel whole within. If you seek abundance, you cultivate gratitude and richness of spirit. If you long for love, you first awaken the presence of love in your own heart. Whatever you wish to see externally must first exist internally, for the outer world is but a mirror reflecting your inner consciousness. When your thoughts, emotions, and imagination are in harmony with the fulfillment of your desire, creation is inevitable. This inner embodiment is not pretending or daydreaming. It is spiritual creation in motion. You are impressing upon the divine substance of life the image of completion. The moment you become conscious of being the one who already possesses what you seek, the universe begins to align with that frequency. Circumstances, people, and timing rearrange themselves to reflect your new state of being. You no longer wonder when the miracle will come, because in awareness, you already possess it. Waiting often implies lack, a belief that something is missing, but becoming one with the miracle dissolves that illusion. You realize that nothing is missing, only unseen. Just as the seed already contains the entire tree within it, your consciousness already holds the fullness of your desired reality. You nurture it through faith, imagination, and gratitude until it unfolds naturally into form. To live in the consciousness of the miracle is to walk through life with quiet certainty. You speak differently, think differently, and act from a sense of completion rather than deficiency. You no longer pray from desperation, but from thanksgiving. You no longer ask if it will happen, but give thanks that it already has. In that vibration of assurance, the invisible becomes visible. This is the sacred secret of manifestation. You do not create by effort, but by identity. You become what you desire, and life mirrors that identity back to you. The world cannot resist the truth of a soul that knows it already is what it once sought to be. So stop waiting at the door of delay. Step into the consciousness of fulfillment now. Feel it, live it, breathe it, and let it shape your every thought. For when you become one with the miracle, reality itself must bow to your faith, and the unseen must appear before your eyes. And so, my friend, as we come to the close of this message, let your heart rest in this truth. Right now, God is moving everything in your favor. Even when life feels silent, He is working behind the scenes. When your inner state aligns with faith, your outer world begins to shift. When you awaken to the power of the present moment, you step through the doorway where miracles are born. When you look beyond appearances, you see that the invisible hand of God has never stopped guiding you. When you surrender the struggle and simply receive, grace flows effortlessly. And when you become one with the miracle, when you live, think, and feel as though it is already done, the universe must obey the consciousness you carry. This is not about waiting for divine favor. It is about realizing that you already live within it. The same power that created worlds is breathing through you now. Trust it. Rest in it. Walk as though the promise has already unfolded, because in the unseen, it has. Thank you for listening, and thank you for opening your heart to this message. May your awareness expand, your faith deepen, and your life overflow with undeniable evidence that God has indeed moved everything in your favor. The miracle is not coming, it is here. Receive it and be at peace. When you open your eyes in the morning, you are not just waking from sleep. You are awakening to creation itself. The dawn is not merely a new time, it is a sacred threshold between the unseen and the seen. In that quiet space, before the world begins to demand your attention, heaven listens to the vibration of your belief. What you assume in those early moments becomes the law of your day. To start your day with faith is to align yourself with divine order. Faith is not hope, nor is it blind optimism. It is knowing. It is the still assurance that even when you cannot see the way is already made. Every situation, every delay, every encounter is being perfectly arranged by unseen intelligence to serve your good. The moment you believe this, you release yourself from fear. The external world may appear uncertain, but faith whispers it is already done. Your faith is the architect of your reality. It does not wait for proof. It gives birth to proof. What you hold in consciousness with conviction must eventually express itself in form. So, if you begin your morning affirming, God is making everything work for me, you have already set into motion a chain of divine activity. Forces you cannot see begin to move. People are inspired, opportunities are arranged, and circumstances unfold in perfect timing, all responding to your inner assumption. Many rise each day reacting to what they see, but the awakened soul knows that the world is only a mirror. If you start your day with worry, the world reflects worry. But if you start your day with faith, the world bends to faith. The key is not to wait for external reassurance. The key is to know that your inner belief precedes your outer experience. Faith is the invisible cause behind visible effects. Before you step out into the noise of the day, find your stillness. Speak within yourself the language of certainty. Today, all things are working together for my good. Every delay is protection. Every challenge is a setup for increase. This inner decree becomes law, and creation obeys. God is not a distant being arranging your life from afar. He is the life within you, shaping reality through your faith-filled consciousness. Gratitude is the fragrance of faith. When you rise in the morning and give thanks for blessings not yet seen, you prove your trust in divine timing. Gratitude declares it is already mine, and as you move through your day in that vibration, heaven rushes to confirm your belief. You begin to notice that what once felt delayed suddenly flows with ease. What seemed against you was secretly preparing the way for something better. So today, begin with faith. Not the faith that waits for evidence, but the faith that creates it. Look at your reflection in the morning and remind yourself, the power that made me is the same power guiding my steps today. Nothing is random. Everything is working for me. Walk through this day knowing that divine intelligence is ahead of you, behind you, and within you. Every closed door redirects you, not rejects you. Every silence hides divine preparation. When faith is your first thought, peace becomes your companion, and miracles become your routine. Begin your day in faith, and you will discover that God has been working all along, arranging every detail, turning every shadow into light, and making everything work for you. Each morning arrives as a quiet, sacred gift, a threshold between the unseen and the seen. It is not merely the start of a new day, but the opening of a canvas so pure and unmarked that it responds to the first strokes of your consciousness. The moment you awaken, before the noise of the world begins to pull at your attention, you are in a space of infinite potential. This space is not ordinary. It is charged with the power to create, to shape your reality, and to align with the unseen forces that govern life. The morning offers you the rare opportunity to meet the day with clarity, intention, and faith, rather than reacting to circumstances as they appear. In those first quiet moments, your mind is like soft clay, ready to take the imprint of your inner belief. What you assume in this sacred time will echo throughout your day. If your mind fills with worry, doubt, or fear, the world will mirror these states. But if you rise with faith, with certainty that all is working for your good, you set in motion an invisible current that shapes your reality to match your assumption. This is the magic of mornings, the power to establish your state of consciousness before the world imposes its own rhythm. Every sunrise is a personal invitation from life itself. It whispers, here is another chance. Here is another beginning. Here is a moment to declare who you are and what you believe. No matter what yesterday held, today begins anew. The past, with its mistakes and limitations, does not dictate the present. Each morning you stand at the doorway of infinite possibilities. How you step into it, whether in fear, hesitation, or in faith and confidence, determines the pattern of your experiences. To embrace the sacredness of the morning is to recognize that life itself is responsive to consciousness. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of what you hold within. When you start your day intentionally, imagining, believing, and feeling that all things are aligned for your benefit, the universe responds. Opportunities present themselves, challenges dissolve more easily, and doors that seemed closed begin to open. The morning, therefore, is not just a time of day, it is a spiritual practice, a laboratory of creation, where faith becomes form. The morning invites stillness. In silence, without distraction, you connect with the deeper currents of life. Thoughts are freshest, belief is most potent, and imagination is alive with vivid possibility. In this sacred silence, you can plant the seeds of intention, gratitude, and trust, knowing that these seeds will grow into tangible experiences as the day unfolds. To honor the morning is to honor your own creative power. It is to understand that each day is a mirror, reflecting back to you the energy and assumption you bring to it. Therefore, awaken with reverence, not merely with routine. Let the first breath of day be a declaration of faith. Let your thoughts and emotions be guided by the certainty that all is orchestrated for your good. In this sacred moment, you are a co-creator with the unseen, a conscious architect of your reality. Each morning is not just another day. It is a divine invitation to step into your power, to shape your life from the inside out, and to witness the miraculous unfold before you. The moment you awaken, your mind is like fertile soil, ready to receive the seeds of thought and belief that will shape the experiences of your day. What you assume in those first moments is far more than fleeting thought. It is the blueprint for your reality. Consciousness is the soil, and faith is the seed. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, or worry, the day will sprout circumstances that reflect those states. But if you plant seeds of faith, certainty, and positive expectation, your external world will respond in kind. The day does not begin with the events you encounter. It begins with the assumptions you hold in your inner world. Everything you experience is a reflection of the state of your consciousness. For your outer world is always a mirror of your inner belief. Upon waking, your thoughts are most potent, least cluttered by the opinions, judgments, and distractions of others. This is the perfect time to consciously choose what you will believe about your day, about your life, and about yourself. You may not yet see the proof, but that does not diminish the power of your assumption. Faith is not waiting for evidence. It is the act of assuming the reality of what you desire before it manifests. To rise in the morning and declare within yourself that today is filled with opportunity, favor, and divine guidance is to set into motion forces that the senses cannot perceive, but that the universe cannot resist. The day unfolds to confirm what you assume in the quiet of your mind. The law is simple. Your outer world cannot rise above the nature of your inner convictions. If your first thoughts upon waking are aligned with fear, limitation, or negativity, the world will conform to that vibration. Conversely, if your first assumption is that all is working for you, that you are supported, guided, and favored, then the day will reflect those truths. This is not speculation, it is the natural response of consciousness. Life cannot contradict your inner reality. It is bound to mirror it. Therefore, every morning presents a choice: to assume consciously or to drift unconsciously. To assume consciously is to recognize the immense creative power you wield. When you awaken, you are not a passive participant in life, but an active architect of the circumstances that will manifest. Your beliefs, even before spoken or acted upon, have already begun to shape the trajectory of your day. By holding the thought, everything I encounter today is for my highest good, or I am guided and protected in every step I take, you establish a vibration that organizes events, people, and opportunities in harmony with your assumption. Faith is not a wish, it is a knowing. It is a deep inner certainty that your unseen world is aligning perfectly with your desire. By beginning your day in consciousness, by planting seeds of belief and expectation, you set a pattern that the day will inevitably follow. Your inner conviction is the hidden hand that shapes the visible world, and the morning is the sacred moment when you can consciously direct it. The quality of your assumptions upon waking determines the quality of your experiences. For life, in all its fullness, reflects only what you hold as true within. The presence of God in your life is not distant or inactive. It is a living force that moves in perfect harmony with your inner state. God does not act randomly or without reason, nor does divine intelligence work against your desires. Instead, God moves through the vibration of your belief, aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities to reflect the reality you assume within. Your trust is not passive, it is an active instrument of creation. The very moment you believe that all things are working for your good, unseen forces respond. What appears as chance or coincidence is simply the divine orchestration of life aligning itself with the frequency of your faith. Belief is the channel through which divine power flows. When you trust fully, when you hold a conviction that your life is guided, your faith resonates with an unseen current that begins to move all things into place. Even before you take action, before events manifest outwardly, the spiritual forces are already arranging circumstances to match your inner vision. This is why faith is described as being the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is not about waiting for proof, but knowing that what you assume internally will inevitably manifest externally. The unseen hand of God is always at work, but it works most powerfully through the instrument of your inner conviction. Every challenge or obstacle that appears in life is not a random occurrence, but a part of divine intelligence responding to your level of faith. When you hold strong belief, even the difficulties are reshaped to serve you. They become opportunities, guidance, and stepping stones rather than hindrances. God moves not in contradiction to your belief, but in alignment with it. If your faith falters, the current slows. If your trust is unwavering, the invisible hand works swiftly to arrange everything in your favor. Circumstances are fluid, pliable, and responsive to the vibration you hold. Your thoughts, emotions, and assumptions create an energetic blueprint. God in the unseen realm moves in perfect correspondence with that blueprint. When you imagine, feel, and assume the life you desire, divine intelligence begins to rearrange every detail to conform to your inner state. People cross your path who reflect your belief, opportunities appear that match your expectation, and doors that were previously closed open without effort. This is the mystery of faith. The unseen moves first, responding to your inner conviction, and the visible world follows naturally. It is essential to understand that trust is not passive waiting, it is active alignment. It is the recognition that the creative power of the universe is already working on your behalf, shaping events to manifest the vision you hold within. The unseen hand of God is most potent when your belief is strongest, for it operates like a mirror, reflecting the exact nature of your faith. Your task is simple: cultivate unwavering trust, hold fast to the inner reality of your desire, and let God's invisible power orchestrate the outer reality. When you comprehend that God moves through your belief, life becomes a dance of co-creation. You are not powerless. You are a partner with the divine. Every thought of faith, every act of trust, every inner assumption becomes the lever that sets the universe in motion. Circumstances bend, challenges dissolve, and reality itself is shaped to match your inner vision. God's work is constant, perfect, and tireless, but it always responds to the vibration of your belief, transforming your inner certainty into outward manifestation. The power of assumption is one of the most profound truths of life, yet it is often overlooked. Everything begins in the realm of consciousness, and what you assume with conviction sets the stage for all experiences. To assume is not to hope or wish, it is to accept something as already true. When you live in the assumption that all things are working together for your good, you are making a declaration to the universe, an inner decree that shapes every event, circumstance, and encounter in your life. The external world cannot resist the command of your inner belief. It organizes itself according to the pattern of your assumption. Assumption is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. You do not need to know how things will happen, nor do you need to see the evidence first. Your responsibility is to hold the reality you desire as if it already exists. When you assume that life is conspiring in your favor, the universe aligns to reflect that inner reality. Doors open that seemed locked, opportunities appear that were previously hidden, and people and circumstances begin to move in harmony with your assumption. What you hold firmly in consciousness is the seed from which your outer experiences grow. The mind naturally seeks to justify what it believes. When you assume positively, your thoughts, words, and actions are automatically guided to reflect that assumption. Even challenges and obstacles begin to rearrange themselves in ways that serve your highest good. This is the subtle yet undeniable law of assumption. Reality does not contradict your inner state. It mirrors it perfectly. Therefore, when you assume that all things are working together for your benefit, you are essentially commanding reality from within. Every event, no matter how small, becomes a reflection of that inner certainty. Most people allow external circumstances to shape their assumptions. They see a delay, a disappointment, or a difficulty, and immediately assume that life is against them. But the awakened mind does the opposite. It assumes first and lets the outer world adjust to match that inner conviction. The act of assuming consciously requires courage and discipline, for it often goes against what the senses report. Yet it is precisely this act that creates miracles. What you assume in your consciousness is far more real than the fleeting appearances around you, because consciousness is the cause, and the world is merely the effect. Assumption is also a practice of imagination and feeling. To assume that all things are working together for your good is to dwell in the feeling of certainty, as if your desires are already fulfilled. Your emotions are powerful indicators of your assumptions. When you feel the reality of your assumption, Your inner vibration resonates with the energy of creation itself. This alignment activates the unseen forces, orchestrating circumstances that bring your inner belief into physical manifestation. The key is consistency. It is not enough to assume once and then doubt. The mind and heart must dwell continually in the assumption that everything is harmonizing for your benefit. Each thought, each emotion, and each action should reinforce this inner reality. Over time, what was once imagined becomes your tangible experience. Life bends effortlessly to match the pattern of your assumption. The unseen obeys the law of belief, and creation always fulfills what you assume with unwavering faith. Before the world awakens in full force, before the demands, distractions, and voices of others pull at your attention, there is a sacred window of silence, a space in which the mind and heart can align with the divine current that governs all things. This is the moment to center yourself, to step inward, and to rise above the outer noise that threatens to scatter your focus and weaken your faith. The clamor of the world, its opinions, its fears, its urgencies, cannot penetrate the quiet mind that has been intentionally stilled in faith. By consciously withdrawing from this noise, you create a space where divine orchestration can move without resistance, where the unseen hand can arrange events in perfect order on your behalf. Silencing the outer noise is not merely about avoiding distraction, it is about tuning your inner frequency to the source of all creation. The world around you is a mirror reflecting the state of your consciousness. If your mind is filled with chaos, worry, or reactive thought, your day will reflect that disorder. But if you begin in stillness, affirming the certainty of divine guidance and trusting that all is working in your favor, the world begins to rearrange itself around that inner alignment. Opposition and obstacles, no matter how imposing they may seem, are powerless against the force of your centered faith. When you rise early, before the day's responsibilities clamor for your attention, you step into a sacred laboratory of creation. In this silence, you can speak to the invisible realm with clarity and certainty. You can visualize, affirm, and feel the reality you wish to see, knowing that the universe responds to the energy of your conviction. This is not wishful thinking. It is the conscious act of alignment. The outer world cannot manifest anything contrary to the vibration you hold within. When your mind is quiet and your faith unwavering, even the strongest opposition bends, shifts, and dissolves to make way for the unfolding of your desired reality. Faith thrives in stillness because it is in silence that you perceive the subtle guidance of divine intelligence. The answers, inspirations, and confirmations you seek do not come from the outer world, but from the inner sanctuary of your being. By silencing external distractions, you allow yourself to hear the whisper of direction that orchestrates all things in perfect timing. This is why prayer, meditation, and early morning reflection are not optional. They are essential practices for those who wish to live in alignment with their highest potential. The day, when approached from chaos, becomes a battlefield. The day, when approached from centered faith, becomes a stage upon which miracles unfold effortlessly. These are personal. The practice of silencing the outer noise is also an act of protection. It shields your consciousness from fear, doubt, and the energies of others that may not serve your highest good. By beginning the day in deliberate stillness, you fortify your mind and heart against distraction, allowing faith to take the lead. Every thought, every feeling, and every action throughout the day flows more smoothly when the first moments are invested in quiet alignment with the divine current. Life first ends, and life first ends in quiet alignment with the divine current. To center yourself in faith before the day begins is to acknowledge a profound truth. No opposition can stand against divine orchestration. What may appear as delay, resistance, or challenge is often a sign of unseen forces preparing the way for your highest good. When you begin in silence, trusting fully, you move through the day unshaken, carrying the certainty that all is already working in your favor. The outer noise may rage, but the inner stillness is invincible. It is in this sacred silence that your faith grows, your reality aligns, and miracles become inevitable. Gratitude is the language of the soul, the expression of faith made visible, and the most powerful force you can bring into the first moments of your day. When you begin your morning in gratitude, you are no longer petitioning the universe or negotiating with life. You are aligning yourself with the certainty that what you desire is already yours. To be grateful is to acknowledge the unseen as present, the invisible as real, and the promises of life as already fulfilled. It is a recognition that the divine intelligence governing your life is not distant or indifferent, but actively working to bring forth your highest good. Gratitude is the natural outflow of faith, the tangible proof that what you believe inwardly is already manifesting outwardly. Starting the day with gratitude shifts your consciousness from lack to abundance, from doubt to certainty, and from fear to trust. Most people begin their mornings by thinking of what is missing, what went wrong yesterday, or what problems may arise today. But the awakened soul begins by dwelling on what is already given, what is already completed, and what is already moving in their favor. Gratitude is not passive. It is a creative act. When you feel gratitude for your desires before they appear, you are planting energetic seeds that the universe responds to. You are effectively telling life, I trust that all is done, all is mine, and all is arranged perfectly. This vibration of thankfulness is irresistible to the unseen forces. It draws to you the people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with your inner certainty. Expressing gratitude first thing in the morning transforms your day. It changes the lens through which you perceive every experience. Challenges become lessons, delays become guidance, and what once seemed like lack becomes preparation for greater fulfillment. The mind attuned to gratitude sees solutions instead of problems, blessings instead of obstacles, and possibilities instead of limitations. This is why the practice of gratitude is so deeply tied to faith. It embodies the belief that your life is already ordered in perfection, that every detail, seen and unseen, is arranged to bring you closer to the fulfillment of your desires. To practice gratitude effectively, imagine and feel your desires as already realized. Thank life for the success you seek, the love you wish to receive, the opportunities that are coming, and the health, prosperity, and peace that are already present in divine form. Speak words of thanks, write them, or simply feel them deeply within your being. By doing so, you are aligning your emotional and mental state with the reality you wish to experience. The vibration of gratitude acts as a magnet, drawing the external world to match the internal state of your mind. Gratitude protects your faith from doubt. When you begin the day acknowledging what is already working for you, you are less likely to be swayed by appearances or temporary setbacks. It creates a shield of assurance that the divine is orchestrating all events in perfect timing. You walk through the day knowing that what is unseen is as real, as present, and as active as anything you can see. In this state, nothing can disturb your peace, nothing can diminish your certainty, and miracles become the natural expression of your inner alignment. Gratitude is therefore not simply a polite acknowledgement, it is faith in action. It is the outward expression of an inward knowing, the living proof that the life you imagine and believe is already unfolding. To begin your day in gratitude is to step into a current of divine fulfillment, to move through the hours with confidence, joy, and expectation, and to witness the unseen made visible as all things work together for your highest good. As we bring this reflection to a close, remember that your morning set the tone for your entire life. Every day offers a sacred opportunity to align with the divine intelligence that moves unseen, orchestrating everything in your favor. When you start your day with faith, when you assume the good, silence the distractions, and express gratitude as if your desires are already fulfilled, you step into a life of effortless flow and divine orchestration. The world around you is a mirror, reflecting the state of your inner consciousness. By nurturing faith, belief, and gratitude within, you transform not only your day, but your entire reality. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted, and every detail, seen or unseen, is working together to bring you closer to your highest good. And you limit all of concentration. If you believe good, so rise each morning with confidence, knowing that the power within you, aligned with the divine, shapes your life beyond measure. Trust in the unseen, hold fast to your assumptions, and let gratitude guide your heart. When you live in this awareness, miracles cease to be extraordinary, they become the natural rhythm of your life. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts with you today. May you step into each morning with unwavering faith, knowing that God is making everything work for you. Beloved, today I want you to hear a truth so powerful that it will change how you see yourself, your life, and the world around you. It's already done. Not someday, not maybe, not if you are worthy. It is already done because God has already moved everything in your favor. Too often, we look around at our circumstances and think, I'm still waiting, my blessing hasn't arrived. But I tell you this, what you see is not the measure of what is real. The measure of reality is your consciousness, the assumption you hold in your mind and heart. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live from the end of your desire, the infinite intelligence aligns everything for you. Understand this. Your imagination is the workshop of God. Every vision, every desire, every dream you have is first placed within you as an image. That image is not a suggestion, it is a promise. And when you live in the assumption that it is already real, the world bends itself to manifest that inner truth outwardly. Do not be deceived by appearances. The world may try to tell you no, later, or not yet, but these are illusions. God has already moved in your favor. Doors are opening behind the scenes. Paths are clearing without your effort. Circumstances are rearranging themselves even before your conscious mind can recognize them. Your task is simple yet profound. Feel it now. See yourself living the life you desire. Speak as though it is already yours. Walk in faith and let the invisible create the visible. Gratitude is your key. Feel thankful for the manifestation before it comes. Praise what is already accomplished. In that state, you are one with the movement of God, and nothing can resist your assumption. Remember, the universe is not waiting for your permission. It has already acted. What you perceive as delay is merely the time it takes for your senses to catch up to your inner reality, your faith, your assumption, your feeling. That is the power that makes all things visible. So stand tall, speak with confidence, live as if the doors are already open. Everything you desire, every blessing, every favor, every breakthrough, it is already done. God has already moved. You are only required to claim it within. And when you do, you will see the invisible turn into the visible, the impossible become possible, and your life align perfectly with the divine flow that has always been working on your behalf. Believe it, feel it, live it. It's already done. Everything you experience in life begins in the realm of imagination. The world that surrounds you is not the creator of your circumstances, rather, it is a reflection of the assumptions you carry within. What you assume to be true, what you believe without doubt in the secret chambers of your mind, inevitably becomes your outer reality. This is the law that governs all creation, your inner belief. The conviction you hold silently and firmly is the seed from which all outward manifestation grows. You cannot escape it, for it works whether you are aware of it or not. If you assume poverty, limitation, or struggle, these will be the fruits you reap. If you assume success, abundance, and favor, then these are the realities that will unfold around you. Your imagination is not merely a playground of fantasy. It is the workshop through which the infinite expresses itself. Every accomplishment, every joy, every blessing that has ever appeared in the world first existed in someone's mind as a living, vivid assumption. You must understand that the outer world is simply a mirror, reflecting back the inner convictions that you hold most deeply. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live and think as though your desire is already realized, the invisible power behind all creation, call it God, Spirit, or infinite intelligence, bends reality to conform to your inner state. It is not enough to hope or wish. Hope is a weak reflection of desire. What matters is the unwavering assumption, the deep-seated belief that your desire is already true. This assumption must be vivid, emotional, and tangible within your mind. You must feel the reality of what you desire as though it is already accomplished. The mind does not differentiate between the physical and the imagined when the imagination is lived and felt with conviction. There is substance and form identity. It accepts it as real and begins to draw circumstances, people, and events into alignment with that truth. Many fail because they allow their senses and outer circumstances to dictate their belief. They see lack, limitation, or delay, and they doubt the unseen. But the unseen is far more real than the seen. The world of imagination, when rightly directed, is the most potent reality there is. It is the seedbed from which all miracles grow. Your inner belief is sacred. It is the divine instrument that shapes your life. When you assume a new reality, when you inhabit it fully in your mind, the world is compelled to respond. The unseen becomes visible. The impossible becomes possible. And the life you have imagined comes forth. Understand this deeply. You are never at the mercy of circumstances. You are always the master of your own reality. By consciously assuming the truth of your desires, by holding them firmly in your mind and feeling them as already yours, you plant a seed that cannot fail. Your inner belief is the origin of all outward manifestation, the eternal source from which your life unfolds. Everything begins in your imagination. Everything. To live in the end is to dwell in the reality of your desire as though it has already been accomplished. Most people make the mistake of looking outward, believing that circumstances must change before their dreams can be fulfilled. But the truth is the opposite. The outer world always conforms to the inner state. The future is not something that arrives from without. It is the natural product of the consciousness you occupy in the present moment. If you imagine the end, if you feel and live in the state of having already achieved your desire, then the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself to match that reality. Living in the end requires a shift in perception, a deliberate and conscious act of the imagination. It is not enough to hope or wish for something to happen someday. Hope looks outward and waits for the world to change. Living in the end looks inward and recognizes that all change originates within. The moment you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you are placing yourself in the position of its inevitable manifestation. You are no longer a passive observer waiting for life to give you what you want. You are the creator, acting from the completed state. Your inner consciousness becomes the blueprint from which all events, circumstances, and experiences emerge. This practice requires discipline and faith. You must persist in the assumption of the end, regardless of what your senses reveal. The outer world may appear contrary, but appearances are only temporary illusions that reflect past assumptions. Your present state of consciousness determines the future, not the current appearance of reality. When you see yourself as already having what you desire, when you feel the emotions, joy, and satisfaction of its fulfillment, you are planting a seed in the unseen world. This seed cannot fail because it is conceived in the fertile soil of consciousness itself, which is the source of all creation. Living in the end also cultivates a sense of peace and certainty. There is no struggle when you know the outcome is already accomplished. Anxiety, doubt, and fear dissolve because they belong to a state of lack and you no longer occupy that state. You align yourself with the natural order of creation, where everything you imagine and feel as real must manifest. Your actions, thoughts, and words then flow effortlessly, guided by the inner knowledge that the end is already achieved. This alignment produces results that may seem miraculous to the untrained eye, yet they are perfectly natural expressions of a mind operating in harmony with the unseen power of creation. Remember, the future is not something to wait for, it is something to inhabit. By living in the end, you claim your desires now, and the outer world must follow. You are not asking, pleading, or negotiating with reality. You are assuming, knowing, and commanding it from the state of fulfillment. In this state, every thought, every feeling, and every action resonates with the certainty of accomplishment, and life responds accordingly. To live in the end is to realize that the world is a reflection of your consciousness. And when your consciousness dwells in the completion of your desires, nothing can prevent their manifestation. Your imagination is not a mere pastime of the mind, a fleeting escape into fantasies. It is the most powerful instrument you possess, the divine tool through which God, Spirit, or the Infinite expresses itself in the world. Everything that exists first passed through the imagination of someone. Every invention, every building, every act of kindness, every work of art, every moment of joy that has ever been known first existed in the mind before it manifested in the world. To understand this is to realize that your imagination is sacred, a bridge between the visible and the invisible, the finite and the infinite. When you use your imagination consciously, you are aligning with the creative force of the universe. Imagination is not bound by limitations of time, space, or circumstance. It is the realm where all possibilities exist simultaneously, where your desires can be fully formed and felt before they appear in the outer world. Most people, however, allow their imagination to wander aimlessly, feeding fears, doubts, and limitations. They imagine lack, failure, and disappointment, and the outer world dutifully reflects these images back to them. But when imagination is used deliberately and consciously, it becomes the instrument through which you shape reality itself. To use your imagination consciously is to enter a state of awareness where you see, feel, and act as though your desire is already fulfilled. It is to dwell in the scene of your wish fulfilled, experiencing it vividly and with emotion, so that the mind accepts it as real. This is the divine law of creation. Whatever you imagine and feel as true must manifest. Your imagination is God's workshop, and your feelings are the blueprint. When you impress your consciousness with the reality of your desire, you set in motion the forces that bring it into physical expression. Conscious use of imagination requires discipline, persistence, and faith. It requires that you take control of your mental images and not allow random thoughts or external circumstances to dominate your mind. Every image you hold, every feeling you entertain, and every assumption you persist in is a statement to the universe about what you accept as real. By consciously directing your imagination toward your highest good, toward the fulfillment of your desires, you become a co-creator with the divine. You no longer wait for life to happen to you. You participate in its creation actively and intentionally. Let this go. Your imagination is limitless. It is the playground of God within you. When you dwell in it with clarity, feeling, and certainty, you align yourself with the infinite intelligence that governs all things. The outer world becomes a reflection of your inner state, and miracles, opportunities, and blessings begin to manifest effortlessly. Imagination is not optional. It is the tool through which life itself is formed. The more consciously you wield it, the more powerfully you participate in your own creation. It is both your responsibility and your privilege to use it wisely. For in imagination lies the secret of all achievements, all transformations, and all miracles. Faith in the invisible is the cornerstone of all creation. What you see with your eyes is only a shadow, a temporary reflection of a reality far greater than the senses can perceive. The true world, the world of power, opportunity, and fulfillment, exists beyond what is immediately visible. It is unseen, eternal, and unchanging, and it is far more potent than anything your eyes can detect. To live in faith in the invisible is to place your trust in what is not yet apparent, to hold unveiling belief in the reality of your desires before the outer world confirms them. This is the law through which all miracles occur. Many people wait for evidence before they believe. They wait for circumstances to change, for opportunities to appear, or for problems to resolve before they allow themselves to feel hope, joy, or assurance. But this is the world upside down. The unseen must come first. The invisible forms the blueprint, and the visible merely follows. The very act of trusting what cannot yet be seen aligns your consciousness with the creative power of the universe. Your inner conviction, your faith in the reality of your desires, is the magnet that draws the unseen into manifestation. Without this faith, nothing materializes, for doubt and disbelief act as barriers, blocking the natural flow of creation. Faith in the invisible requires more than mere mental assent. It requires feeling. It is not enough to intellectually understand that your desire will be fulfilled. You must live as if it has already been accomplished. You must feel the joy, the satisfaction, the peace, and the certainty that come from knowing the end is already realized. The imagination, combined with feeling, is the vehicle through which the unseen is impressed upon reality. When you feel the reality of your desire in your inner world, the universe responds. Circumstances, events, and people adjust to reflect the state of consciousness you occupy. The invisible is eternal, limitless, and perfect, and it is far more powerful than anything seen. What appears to be lack, limitation, or delay is only temporary and superficial. These outer conditions do not determine your destiny. They reflect past assumptions. Faith in the invisible allows you to rise above appearances and occupy the state of fulfillment now. In doing so, you not only prepare the way for manifestation, but also experience peace and certainty in the present. There is no struggle in faith, there is only quiet assurance and steadfast knowing. To trust the unseen is to acknowledge that your life is not ruled by chance or circumstance, but by the creative law of consciousness. Every visible outcome is born from an unseen cause, and when you align your mind with this truth, your life transforms. The invisible reality is waiting to be recognized, to be accepted, and to be lived as true. Faith in the invisible is the bridge between desire and manifestation, between thought and form, between longing and fulfillment. When you embrace it fully, the unseen becomes inevitable, the impossible becomes possible, and your life unfolds in perfect alignment with your highest vision. Resistance is the greatest barrier to the manifestation of your desires. Most people spend their lives struggling against circumstances, fighting what appears to be a reality that opposes them. They see lack, delay, or difficulty, and their natural response is to resist, to push back, and to attempt to force change from the outside. But this struggle is futile. Circumstances are mere shadows, fleeting reflections of past assumptions and inner states. They have no ultimate power over you. Your true power lies in your inner consciousness, in the state you occupy within, for it is your inner state that shapes the outer world. To release resistance is to stop opposing what is and to align yourself with the unseen reality of your desire. When you resist, you give energy and attention to what you do not want. You argue with reality, complain about circumstances, and attempt to manipulate the outer world to conform to your desires. Yet all this does is strengthen the very conditions you are resisting. The law of consciousness works impartially. Whatever you focus on, whatever you feel with intensity, is impressed upon your reality. If you concentrate on struggle, lack, or difficulty, you reinforce their presence. But when you release resistance, when you stop struggling and accept the moment as it is, you create a vacuum in which the unseen can operate. In that space, the power of imagination and assumption moves freely to bring your desires into manifestation. To release resistance does not mean to ignore your desires or to become passive. On the contrary, it is a conscious act of faith. It is the decision to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, regardless of what your senses report. You assume the state of having already received, and in doing so, you cease to argue with life. You stop fighting the shadows and begin to inhabit the reality you wish to see. This is the art of conscious creation. The outer world cannot resist the inner reality when the inner reality is fixed and unwavering. By occupying the end, you allow life to flow effortlessly toward your fulfillment. Resistance is rooted in disbelief, fear, and impatience. It is the sense that the world is hostile, that life is unfair, or that you must fight to get what you want. To release resistance, you must recognize that all apparent opposition is temporary and illusory. The universe is not against you, it is merely responding to your inner state. Change the inner state, and the outer world must follow. Let go of the struggle, let go of doubt, and surrender to the feeling of your desire accomplished. This surrender is not weakness, it is the greatest expression of strength, for it aligns you with the creative intelligence that governs all things. When resistance is released, life begins to flow effortlessly. Opportunities appear, circumstances shift, and people align themselves with your vision. You discover that the outer world has always been a mirror of your inner state, and that by changing your inner state, you change everything. The shadows dissolve, and the reality of your imagination becomes your experience. Release resistance, occupy the end, and watch the world conform to the fulfillment of your desires, for it is only the inner state that defines the life you live. Gratitude is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the secret key that transforms desire into reality and makes the unseen inevitable. Most people wait to feel grateful until they have received what they want, but this is the backward way of creation. True manifestation begins not with the outer, but with the inner. To feel gratitude as if your desire has already manifested is to impress the unseen with the reality of your fulfillment. It is a conscious acknowledgement that your desire is no longer in the future but exists now in the realm of the mind and heart. When you cultivate this feeling, the universe is compelled to reflect it in the outer world. Gratitude for the end is more than polite appreciation. It is a state of being. It is a deep, resonant feeling that saturates your consciousness with the certainty of your desire fulfilled. Imagine the joy, the relief, the satisfaction that comes from having your wish realized, and allow that feeling to dominate your inner life. Do not focus on what is missing, on what is delayed, or on the obstacles in your path. Let your consciousness dwell entirely in the experience of already having received. When you do this, your mind ceases to struggle with lack and aligns with the creative force that governs all manifestation. The feeling of gratitude impresses the unseen with truth, and the world is forced to conform to it. Many fail to understand the power of this practice because they attempt to create through thought alone, without feeling. Thought without feeling is empty. It is only when the mind is saturated with the emotion of fulfillment that imagination becomes reality. Gratitude is the emotion that signals to the universe that the end is accomplished. When you feel thankful for what you have not yet seen, you are not pretending. You are acknowledging the eternal truth that your desire exists in the unseen, waiting to be experienced in the outer world. This is the law. The unseen is moved into manifestation by the feeling of certainty and thankfulness. Practicing gratitude for the end also changes your perception of life. You begin to see the world not as a place of struggle, lack, or delay, but as a mirror reflecting the state of your inner consciousness. Every circumstance, every encounter, and every opportunity aligns with the gratitude you hold. You no longer look to the outside world for validation because you have already assumed the end within. Life flows effortlessly. Doors open and conditions adjust themselves to match your inner reality. This is the natural law of creation. What you feel as true is what must appear. Gratitude accelerates manifestation because it eliminates resistance. There is no struggle when you are already thankful for what is coming. Doubt and fear dissolve, leaving only the certainty of fulfillment. The more consistently you inhabit this state, the faster the invisible becomes visible. The universe responds to the vibration of gratitude, aligning circumstances, people, and events to reflect the reality you have assumed. To live in gratitude, for the end is to live in the fulfillment of your desires now, to claim your blessing in the unseen, and to allow life to reflect it perfectly in the physical world. As we come to the close of this message, remember this truth above all. Everything you desire is not a distant possibility. It is already done. The universe has moved in your favor, and all that remains is for you to claim it within. Your imagination, your faith, your assumption, your release of resistance, and your gratitude. These are the tools that bring the unseen into the seen. What you feel and believe as true in this moment shapes the reality that unfolds before you. There is no waiting, there is no lack, there is only the eternal, divine movement working on your behalf. So go forth with confidence, knowing that your desires are already accomplished in the invisible. Live in the feeling of the end. Trust the unseen and embrace the flow of life that is aligning perfectly for you. Every step you take, every thought you nurture, every feeling you cultivate now is the echo of what has already been established for you. The doors are open, the blessings are prepared, and the favor of the infinite has already been placed in your hands. Thank you for allowing yourself to receive this message today. May you walk in the certainty of your fulfilled desires. May your imagination guide you to the life you dream of. And may you always live in the knowing that it is already done. Thank you, and may your journey be filled with the realization of all that your heart has assumed. Beloved, there comes a moment in your life when heaven shifts quietly, powerfully, decisively, and everything begins to move in your favor. It doesn't start with noise, it doesn't start with proof. It starts in the silence of faith. When you prayed, heaven heard you. When you believed, heaven recorded it. But when you received it within, that's when God began to move the pieces that were beyond your control. Right now you may not see it, but God has already rearranged the board. Every obstacle, every closed door, every disappointment, it's been realigned to serve your destiny. You are not waiting for a blessing. The blessing is waiting for you to recognize it as done. You see, God never reacts to circumstances. He fulfills faith. And faith doesn't beg, faith assumes. Faith doesn't ask, When will it happen? Faith declares it is finished. The moment you believed, divine movement began. Angels were dispatched, circumstances were reordered, timelines were accelerated. What seemed impossible was quietly rewritten in your favor. But here's the key. You must stop looking for signs of movement and start resting in the assurance that it's already done. The universe mirrors your certainty, not your worry. The evidence shows up after you've believed. Don't confuse stillness with delay. Sometimes when it feels silent, it's because God is working the deepest miracles behind the curtain. The delay you fear is actually the divine coordination of everything you need. The right people, the right timing, the right conditions. You are not forgotten, you are not behind, you are being positioned. And what's unfolding right now is bigger than what you prayed for. When God moves, it's not partial, it's complete. He doesn't just fix a problem, He restores the entire story. He doesn't just answer a prayer, He changes the atmosphere around your life. So I tell you today, stop trying to figure it out and start living as if it's already yours. Walk like it's done, speak like it's done, praise like it's done, because when you believe it received, you magnetize the very reality you desire. Heaven responds to conviction, not confusion. The moment you feel it as done, creation bows to your certainty. So yes, things have shifted. The struggle is turning into strategy. The delay is turning into deliverance. The rejection is turning into redirection. God just moved everything in your favor. Believe it, receive it, and rest in it. For faith is not about waiting, it's about knowing. And when you know, you no longer strive. You rest, you expect, and you watch as life catches up to what your spirit already received. So breathe, smile. The miracle has already been set in motion. God just moved everything in your favor, and no force in this world can reverse what heaven has decreed. Before any visible transformation takes place in your life, a divine movement is already unfolding in the unseen realm. What you call delay is often divine activity hidden from your natural sight. Every prayer, every word of faith, every thought soaked in belief begins to stir the invisible forces of creation. The moment you shift your inner state, the outer world starts aligning to match it. It may look like nothing is happening, but behind the curtain of time and space, everything is being rearranged in your favor. The invisible realm is where true manifestation begins. Every miracle you will ever experience has its roots in what cannot be seen. God works in silence, in mystery, in stillness. When you pray with conviction and hold a vision of what you desire, heaven receives that image as instruction. Spiritual law begins to organize circumstances, people, and opportunities to reflect what you have accepted as real in your heart. You don't see the roots growing, but one day the tree stands before you. The unseen movement was there all along. The greatest mistake we make is judging our progress by what our physical eyes can observe. The truth is, what you see now is simply a reflection of your past beliefs. The present moment you're living in is the result of yesterday's inner state. So, if you want to change your future, you must plant new seeds in the invisible today. You must dare to believe, even when there's no evidence to support it. That is where faith becomes the bridge between the seen and the unseen. When you believe something with all your heart, you activate divine order. God doesn't respond to need, He responds to belief. And belief is a state of knowing, not hoping. It's when you stand in the awareness that what you desire is already accomplished in spirit. From that state, your words carry authority, your emotions align with peace, and your actions flow from confidence instead of desperation. You no longer beg heaven to move. You realize heaven already has. You are never waiting for God. You are waiting for the outer world to catch up with what has already shifted inside you. That's why patience is not about sitting idle, it's about resting in assurance. Every time you doubt, you pause the process. Every time you trust, you accelerate it. Faith keeps the invisible machinery of divine movement in motion. So when nothing seems to be happening, remind yourself that everything is happening. Just because you can't trace it doesn't mean God isn't working. The invisible is where destiny is designed, miracles are arranged, and favor is positioned. The silence of heaven is not absence, it's activity. Your role is not to force, but to feel it done. For once you embody the reality within, it must appear without. Everything you've prayed for, believed for, and affirmed is already in motion. It's not coming, it's here, unfolding in divine sequence. Before you see it, it has already been rearranged. Trust the invisible, for that is where God moves first. Faith is not a wish, it is a knowing. It is the inner assurance that what you have prayed for, believed for, and envisioned is already complete in the unseen. Many wait for proof before they believe, but true faith reverses that order. Faith stands as proof before evidence appears. It says, I don't need to see it to know it's real. The world may call that foolishness, but in the divine order, it is the very law by which all things are created. Everything begins in belief before it manifests in reality. When you believe without proof, you are acknowledging that the invisible realm is more powerful than the visible one. You are recognizing that what is unseen gives birth to what is seen. Faith is not an emotional feeling, it is a spiritual position. It is choosing to rest in the reality of your desire before it takes form. When you hold faith in your heart, you declare that you already possess what you ask for, even if your senses disagree. This is why faith is described as the evidence of things not seen. Evidence means certainty, not possibility. Faith doesn't wait to celebrate after manifestation, it celebrates because manifestation is inevitable. When you stand in faith, you no longer look for signs, you become the sign. You begin to carry the energy, the confidence, and the peace of someone who already has what they prayed for. That vibration calls the invisible into visibility. Faith changes the atmosphere within you. When you believe, your thoughts shift, your emotions align, and your actions begin to mirror the fulfilled state. You stop chasing outcomes and start aligning with them. The more you dwell in the feeling of already done, the faster the world around you reshapes itself to match that frequency. This is how mountains move, not by begging them to shift, but by believing so deeply that they no longer stand in opposition. Doubt demands evidence, but faith creates evidence. When you doubt, you send a signal that says, it's not here yet. But when you believe, you send a declaration that says, it is here now. The universe responds to the dominant conviction of your heart. It doesn't bring you what you want, it brings you what you believe. That's why faith is not passive. It's the most powerful creative act you can perform. When you live by faith, your confidence is no longer tied to circumstances. You stop being moved by what you see and start being anchored in what you know. Your external world becomes a reflection of your internal conviction. The storm may rage, but faith keeps you steady because you understand the outcome has already been written in your favor. So believe not because you see, but because you know. Stand as if proof already exists, because in truth it does. Every fulfilled promise begins as an act of faith that refused to wait for evidence. Faith is not waiting for things to change, it is standing in the change already accomplished. When you live from that place, the unseen must bow to your conviction, and what you believed becomes what you see. The moment you accept your desire as already received, something profound happens in the unseen realm. Creation locks into alignment. Acceptance is the spiritual act that completes the circuit between intention and manifestation. It is the invisible handshake between heaven and earth. When you accept what you've asked for as done, you no longer vibrate from lack. You vibrate from fulfillment. That shift in consciousness is what allows divine order to take over and arrange everything in your favor. Most people pray, hope, and wait, but very few truly accept. Acceptance is not merely saying the words, I believe. It is an inner agreement with the reality of your answered prayer. It is the moment your heart says, it is mine now, and your emotions begin to mirror that truth. Until you reach that place of acceptance, you are still standing in the energy of wanting. And wanting keeps the manifestation at a distance. The universe doesn't respond to requests, it responds to realization. When you accept your desire as received, you step into alignment with God's creative principle. Acceptance removes resistance. It dissolves fear and neutralizes doubt. It tells heaven, I trust your timing, your process, and your method. You stop questioning how it will happen, because you know it already has. Your acceptance becomes a signal of faith that allows the unseen to take physical form. Imagine a seed planted in the soil. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust that the process is working beneath the surface. That trust, that quiet acceptance, is what gives the seed permission to sprout. The same is true for your desires. The moment you accept them as fulfilled, life begins to nurture them into visibility. You may not see movement immediately, but divine alignment is already underway. People are being positioned, opportunities are being rearranged, and doors are being prepared for you to walk through. Acceptance is also the key to peace. When you truly accept, you stop striving. You stop living in the tension of not yet. You move from waiting to being. You begin to feel gratitude before the evidence appears, and that gratitude becomes magnetic. Gratitude is the emotional language of acceptance, and it tells the universe, I have already received. From that point, your outer life naturally evolves to reflect your inner knowing. This is the secret many overlook. Manifestation doesn't begin when you see results. It begins when you accept them as already done. The physical world is always a mirror of your inner conviction. When your inner state declares something complete, the outer world has no choice but to comply. So stop asking and start accepting. Speak your desire as reality, feel it as real, live from the awareness that it is finished. For the moment you do, heaven begins to orchestrate every detail in your favor. The doors will open, the paths will clear, and what once felt distant will find its way to your hands. Acceptance isn't waiting, it's receiving. And once you receive it within, the world has no choice but to reveal it without. There is a sacred power in resting with assurance. When you reach the place where your heart is still, where your spirit no longer wrestles with doubt or fear, that is the very moment heaven begins to move. God responds not to striving, but to stillness. The stillness that comes from knowing the outcome is already settled. The divine does not work through anxiety or desperation. It flows through faith-filled rest. The stillness of certainty opens the invisible gates where divine orchestration can operate freely, arranging what human effort could never accomplish. Resting in assurance is not laziness or passivity, it is spiritual mastery. It is the inner knowing that says it is finished, even when the evidence has not yet appeared. When you rest in assurance, you release control, and in that release, you make space for God to do what only He can do. As long as you are anxious, you are signaling heaven that you do not yet believe. But the moment you enter peace, you demonstrate that you trust the process completely, that peace becomes a language heaven understands. Your stillness carries authority. It says to every challenge, I am not moved, because I know who moves for me. You no longer need to push, to beg, or to manipulate outcomes. You simply hold your posture of faith, and everything around you begins to bend toward that energy. God doesn't move when you panic, He moves when you rest. When you are certain of your answered prayer, divine intelligence starts weaving together people, circumstances, and timing that lead directly to fulfillment. This rest is not the absence of action, it is inspired action flowing from trust instead of tension. It's when you do what you can and leave the rest in God's hands, knowing that His power far exceeds your plan. When you stop fighting the current, you allow the river of divine purpose to carry you exactly where you're meant to be. The greatest breakthroughs often come not when we do more, but when we finally stop forcing and start trusting. Stillness is a declaration of confidence in divine timing. It says, I know it's working, even if I can't see it. This posture magnetizes blessings, because you've aligned your energy with completion, not struggle. The stillness of faith is not empty, it's full of expectancy. It's the quiet knowing that behind every apparent delay, something beautiful is unfolding. When you rest in assurance, the atmosphere around you changes. Peace replaces pressure. Clarity replaces confusion. You begin to move with grace instead of resistance. Everything starts to flow because you are no longer in opposition to what God is doing. You've surrendered control and entered cooperation. So be still, not because you've given up, but because you know it's already done. Rest is not weakness, it's worship. It is the highest form of faith. When you stop striving, heaven starts orchestrating. And in that divine stillness, God moves faster, further, and greater than you ever could on your own. Every delay carries divine purpose. What looks like waiting is often God's way of arranging circumstances beyond your sight. Delay is not denial, it's divine timing preparing something greater than what you imagined. We often become impatient because we measure time by the clock, but heaven measures time by readiness, not just yours, but the readiness of everything connected to your destiny. When you pray for something and it doesn't arrive immediately, it's not because you've been forgotten. It's because the pieces of your miracle are still being aligned. In divine timing, nothing happens too early and nothing happens too late. Everything unfolds in the exact moment when it can serve your highest good. The delay is not meant to punish you, it's meant to prepare you. During the waiting, God strengthens your faith, sharpens your discernment, and teaches you to trust what you cannot see. If everything came instantly, you'd never develop the spiritual maturity required to sustain it. Sometimes what you're asking for is ready, but you're not yet ready to hold it. So God pauses the manifestation until your heart, your mindset, and your character match the magnitude of the blessing. Think of the delay as divine positioning. While you're wondering when it will happen, heaven is rearranging people, opportunities, and pathways so that when it does arrive, it fits perfectly into place. The person you need to meet might not be in position yet. The door you're meant to walk through might still be under construction. God is orchestrating details far beyond your awareness, and every seeming setback is secretly working in your favor. When you understand divine timing, you stop fearing delay. You begin to rest in the knowing that everything is right on schedule. The waiting becomes sacred because it's filled with preparation. You start using the pause to grow in wisdom, gratitude, and faith. You stop asking, "Why is it taking so long?" and start declaring, "Thank you, God, for perfect timing." That shift in attitude moves you from frustration to flow. The truth is, divine timing never fails. When the appointed moment arrives, things happen suddenly, effortlessly, as if they were always meant to be. The years of delay dissolve in a single breakthrough. What once seemed impossible unfolds with ease, and you realize that if it had come any sooner, you wouldn't have been ready to receive it fully. God's timing protects your destiny from premature exposure. So don't mistake silence for absence or delay for rejection. Every waiting season is a sacred setup. While you wait, heaven is working. Every not yet is really a just wait. It's almost ready. Trust that nothing has been denied, it's only being perfected. The waiting room is not wasted time, it's preparation time. And when divine timing finally intersects with your faith, what once felt delayed will arrive with such precision and power that you'll know it couldn't have happened any other way. You were never meant to chase what's already yours. The blessing that belongs to you doesn't need to be pursued. It needs to be aligned with. When you chase something, you affirm its absence. But when you align with it, you affirm its presence. True manifestation doesn't happen by running after what you desire. It happens by becoming the version of yourself who already has it. When you live from the end rather than toward it, you step into the flow of divine fulfillment, where everything meant for you finds its way effortlessly into your life. M. Alignment begins in consciousness. It starts when you stop striving to get and start allowing yourself to be. You become one with the reality of your answered prayer. You begin to feel, think, and act as if it's already done. In that state, there's no struggle, no fear, no lack. Only calm assurance. The universe mirrors your inner state, so when you dwell in fulfillment, you magnetize experiences that match that vibration. You don't have to force blessings to appear. They naturally gravitate to the one who already embodies them. When you live from the end, your emotions, your words, and your decisions begin to align with your desired outcome. You walk differently. You speak with faith instead of worry. You make choices guided by peace, not pressure. That inner alignment creates a frequency that calls forth everything you've been praying for. The blessing was never far away, you were simply out of tune with it. Once you align, what seemed distant begins to draw near, and what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Chasing comes from fear, the fear that if you don't run hard enough, you'll miss your moment. But alignment comes from trust, the quiet confidence that what's meant for you cannot pass you by. God doesn't reward anxiety, He responds to assurance. The more you trust, the more easily things flow. The door opens not because you forced it, but because you were already standing at the right vibration when it did. Living from the end is a spiritual posture of certainty. It's closing your eyes and seeing the dream as complete. It's feeling gratitude now, celebrating now, and walking in joy now. Not when it arrives, but because it already has in spirit. That's the secret to divine flow, the inner acceptance that precedes the outer evidence. When your inner world declares it is done, the outer world rearranges to prove it. You don't chase love, success, or favor. You align with the frequency of love, success, and favor, and they find you. What's meant for you moves toward you with precision and ease when you live in the end state of fulfillment. Stop striving to get there. Start being there in consciousness. The path to manifestation isn't through pursuit, but through embodiment. The moment you live as though it's already yours, the universe bows to your conviction. You don't chase the blessing, you become the blessing. And everything meant for you flows naturally to where you already stand. Everything in your life is already moving under divine ardor. What seems delayed, uncertain, or out of reach has already been spoken for in the unseen realm. The moment you believed, heaven began to shift things in your favor. God's hand has been guiding, arranging, and positioning every detail. Not one part of your journey is wasted. Faith is your bridge, acceptance is your key, and stillness is your signal that says, it is done. You don't have to chase what's already yours. You simply need to align with it, rest in it, and allow it to unfold in perfect timing. So stand in assurance, walk in gratitude, and live as though the promise has already manifested. Because it has. God has moved everything in your favor. The blessing isn't coming, it's here. Believe it received, and watch your reality rise to meet your faith. Thank you. Thank you for listening, for believing, and for choosing faith over fear. May this message awaken a deeper confidence within you, the knowing that what's meant for you is already unfolding. Keep standing in faith, keep living from fulfillment, and remember, the moment you believe, heaven begins to move. God bless you, and thank you for being part of this divine journey.